Dear students, we shall see today about biotransformation. The main learning objective of biotransformation is to explain the role of biotransformation in toxicokinetics, to describe how biotransformation will facilitate elimination of toxicants, to distinguish between phase 1 and phase 2 reactions, to know what is bioactivation, to identify the tissues or factors involved in biotransformation, and finally summarize the role of elimination in toxicokinetics. The learning outcome is at the end of the lecture, you will be able to recall the concept of biotransformation and bioactivation, comprehend the mechanism of biotransformation, differentiate phase 1 and phase 2 reactions, and analyze the route of elimination of toxicants after biotransformation. So, with this objective and learning outcome, we shall enter into the topic of biotransformation. What is biotransformation? It is a process by which a substance changes from one chemical to another by a chemical reaction within the body. The metabolism or the metabolic transformation are the terms that are used for biotransformation process, but it is not exactly the same. But metabolism can be applied in cases where there is a toxicokinetics, where some of the products are being transformed in the process of metabolism and then eliminated through the excretory system. The importance of biotransformation is it is very much vital for our survival. If there is no biotransformation, we may not survive because we are exposed every day to a lot of toxicants and pathogens. The defense system fights against the pathogens, and the xenobiotics are the hazardous waste that enter into our body. They are absorbed via the food or the respiratory system, the gases, and then it is being transformed into less harmful substances and then excreted from the body. Mostly the toxicants are lipophilic, non-polar, and of low molecular weight. So they are easily absorbed through the cell membranes of the skin, gastrointestinal tract, and lung. So the chemical and the physical properties control the distribution of chemical throughout the body and its penetration into the tissue cells. If you see the lipophilic toxicants, they are hard or very difficult for the body to eliminate. Therefore, they can get accumulated in various organs and move to hazardous levels. But there is a mechanism in our body where the lipophilic toxicants are transformed into hydrophilic metabolites, and these hydrophilic metabolites can easily pass through the membranes of the critical cells and then eliminate through our body. That is mainly the excretory organs. So, biotransformation is a key body defense mechanism. Let me give an example of biotransformation, what is actually happening in our own body in the case of hemoglobin. As we all know, hemoglobin is an oxygen carrying iron protein complex in red blood cells. And it is also an example where these red blood cells have got a short life period. So these aged red blood cells have to be normally destroyed and the hemoglobins are released. And these hemoglobins, they are metabolized, and through the metabolic pathway they are converted into bilirubin. And you all know bilirubin is a waste which cannot get accumulated in the body. If the body cannot eliminate this bilirubin via the liver, it can lead to disease or infection, and it causes that is the white of the eye and the skin may look yellow. And this bilirubin is toxic to the brain of the newborns, and if it is present in high concentrations, it may also cause brain injury. And the biotransformation of lipophilic bilirubin molecule in the liver results in the production of a water-soluble hydrophilic metabolite which is excreted into bile and eliminated via the feces. So you know the feces has got an yellow color. So this biotransformation converts this lipophilic bilirubin into a hydrophilic molecule and is eliminated via the feces. If the biotransformation process is not perfect, it can lead to potential complications. So therefore detoxification occurs when biotransformation results in the metabolites of lower toxicity. So naturally our body tries to detoxify the toxicants, but sometimes when these metabolites enter into or this toxicants enter into the metabolic pathway, the metabolites sometimes will become more toxic than the parent substance, and this process is called as bioactivation. So once again I'll repeat, normally when a toxicant enters into our body, it is converted into less toxic substance. But sometimes what happens is, when these parent toxic compound enters into the metabolic pathway, it is converted into a more toxic compound, and this process is called bioactivation. So biotransformation can produce unusual reactive metabolite that may interact with cellular macromolecules like DNA and causing cancer or birth defects. And one such example is the biotransformation of vinyl chloride into vinyl chloride epoxide, which binds to the DNA and RNA, leading to cancer of the liver. So this is a schematic diagram of how a toxicant which is highly lipophilic and metabolically stable, which can get accumulated in the body fat. Now if it is going to get biotransformed, it can undergo two reactions. One is phase 1 reaction, that is bioactivation or inactivation, which is done by oxidation, reduction or hydrolysis. Or this lipophilic compound can be converted into a, that is which is non-polar, can be converted to polar compound and enters into phase 2, that is again bioinactivation or conjugation, converted into hydrophilic compound and then eliminated from the body. Or if it is going to be a polar compound, it can directly enter into the phase 2 reaction, or if it's a hydrophilic compound, directly it can get eliminated from the body. So these steps we will see one by one. So as I told you, this is a diagrammatic representation, a simple example of a drug which enters the body. It undergoes oxidation by using cytochrome P450, the metabolic pathway. It is converted into metabolite which becomes polar. When renal elimination, it goes out to the urine. So phase 1 reaction. So otherwise it can get conjugated to some metabolite within the body, and then it can convert into a non-polar species, and then the non-polar will be converted to polar and then be eliminated via the stool. There are different enzymes which are involved in biotransformation. That is, I told you the phase 1 you have the oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis. In the oxidation, which is most important, oxygen is added and hydrogen is removed. So it actually happens in the cytochrome P450, or it has got alcohol dehydrogenase, oxidases and so many other enzymes which help in the oxidation process. And reduction, it removes oxygen, adds hydrogen, there is a decreased balance and the enzymes are reductase. And in hydrolysis, water is added, so therefore the enzymes are esterases, phosphatases and others. Now we shall see about phase 1 reaction. I told you the chemicals that are not naturally found in the body. It can move into two phases. In phase 1, an exogenous molecule is modified by the addition of a functional group such as hydroxyl, a carboxyl or a sulfhydryl molecule. This modification allows phase 2, that is a conjugation or joining of the exogenous molecule with an endogenous molecule, and therefore it is converted into a metabolite which can get easily, is water soluble and it can get easily excreted. Now we shall see how the phase 1 reactions are actually undergoing in our system. As I told you already, oxidation. It is carried out by cytochrome P450 monooxygenases or MFO, that is mixed function amine oxidases, and alcohol and aldehyde dehydrogenases. So these enzymes help in the oxidation process. So the main role of the cytochrome P450 monooxygenase is to make the toxic chemical less toxic, or sometimes it can also go for bioactivation, making it more toxic. So the cytochrome P450 enzymes can, for example, produce epoxides of some chemicals which are very reactive and can attack important cellular molecules such as DNA. As I told you, there are two possibilities for cytochrome P450 enzyme. Either it can make it less toxic or it can make more toxic. That is bioactivation. If it is going to make it more toxic, it can convert into epoxides and then attack the DNA. So it becomes very much dangerous. Then reduction, I told you this, it can even cytochrome P450 monooxygenase can catalyze a reduction reaction. In addition, you also have aldehyde and ketone reductases. And there are three groups of hydrolytic enzymes like epoxide hydrolases, esterases and amidases, which will create metabolites with either a hydroxyl group or a carboxyl group or a amino functional group. So by these three mechanisms, a toxic chemical can be converted into less toxic, or sometimes it may be also bioactivated. Now if we go to phase 2 reactions, an altered exogenous chemical, see, as I told you now, what is the meaning of exogenous? It is not belonging to our body. It is a toxicant. It has entered into a body. By means of phase 1 reaction, by like oxidation, reduction or hydrolysis, what has happened? This toxicant, which is an exogenous chemical, has been altered either by altering the functional groups, and therefore it has been converted to a molecule which can be recognized by your own body. So it can go bind to an endogenous molecule. Maybe it can be an amino acid or a carbohydrate, anything in the metabolic pathway. It can go bind and lead to a final product that is called as conjugate. So an exogenous compound which is altered binds with an endogenous molecule, therefore it is called as conjugate or conjugation. And this which is converted into, that is non-polar into a polar compound, therefore it becomes more water soluble and can be easily excreted. So there are 4 types of parent compounds whose excretion can be enhanced by conjugation. One is glucuronic acid, the other one is glutathione, amino acids or sulfate. So these compounds can easily get excreted from the human body. So the first 2 types are the most common phase 2 reactions. That is conjugation of glucuronic acid with a hydroxyl, carboxyl, amino or sulfidyl group, which will lead to the formation of oxygen, nitrogen or sulfur glucuronides. See, now we saw in the hydrolysis, there is the carboxyl, amino or sulfide group being formed. Now, so this will lead to the formation of nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur glucuronides, a conjugate. Now this is more excreted easily than the ordinary glucuronic acid, and they are more water soluble, and they also contain a carboxyl group. Similarly, when there is a conjugation with glutathione, it also enhances excretion. So glutathione yields glutathione conjugates and mercapturic acid derivatives. So they are easily excreted by the liver, kidney or both. So this type of phase 2 reactions can help a lipophilic compound to be converted into a hydrophilic compound and easily get excreted. There are 2 types of conjugations. One is acetylation and methylation. They do not enhance the excretion of the parent chemical. So acetylation and methylation, they decrease the water solubility of the parent chemical. They mask the functional group of the parent chemical. Therefore, conjugation is being prevented, and it is finding difficult sometimes also to get excreted. So acetylation acts on chemicals with an amino group and may render them less toxic. Chemicals with an amino group, hydroxyl group, sulfide group can be methylated. So methylated is not an important route of biotransformation for exogenous chemicals as it is for endogenous chemicals. So they do these 2 types, though they help, sometimes it may not enhance excretion of the parent chemical, but if it is being converted okay, that a functional group is being actually conjugated, then it can help in excretion. So finally, we can see how these toxicants are getting eliminated from the body. So it is via the urinary system, the fecal, the respiratory, saliva, sweat, milk, nails, hair, skin, and even the cerebrospinal fluid. So with this, I hope you would have got an idea of biotransformation and how it is being the harmful toxic substance is converted into a less toxic substance through phase 1 and phase 2 reactions. I have just given you here 3 questions for your knowledge check. Please do attempt. Thank you.